It's not a money problem, it's a priorities problem. It always has been. Hi everyone, Troy Green here, candidate for U.S. Senate to represent the great state of Oklahoma. So let's talk about money honestly for a moment, because every time someone like me talks about fixing things like housing, wages, education, child protection, the same question always comes up: how do we pay for it? And that question assumes something that just isn't true, that we don't have the money. We do. We've never had a money problem in this country. What we have always had is a priorities problem. So, when rich CEOs want tax breaks, somehow the money's always there for that. When corporations want subsidies, again, no money problems there. When politicians want to fund wars, bail out banks, or protect their donors, the money always magically appears. But when working people need things like housing, stability, or protection, suddenly we're told to be realistic. I grew up in the systems people at the top never have to touch. I've worked in these systems too, and here's what that taught me. We already spend massive amounts of money. We're just spending it after the damage is already done. We pay for homelessness through ER visits, jails, and police calls. I talk about that all the time. We pay for underpaid work through public assistance and families breaking down. And we pay for neglected education through lost potential and generational poverty. We also pay for weak child protection through trauma that lasts a lifetime for some, and for many tying them to the failed systems that we're discussing today. Every bill I've written starts from one simple idea: stop funding failure and start funding prevention. Take housing, for example. The Unhoused Protection and Housing Stability Act doesn't invent new money. It simply redirects it by stopping Wall Street corporations from bulk buying homes, driving up rent prices, and draining communities, and by charging them for the damage they cause. It also by closing real estate tax loopholes and by redirecting housing dollars that already exist but sit unused or trapped in bureaucracy. Now take work, for example. The Freedom to Thrive Act is paid for by enforcing laws that already exist and are routinely ignored. Wage theft costs workers more than all shoplifting combined. And when companies steal wages, misclassify workers, or dodge benefits, they're not being clever, they're actually stealing. And this bill says if you cheat working people, you pay, and those penalties will fund childcare, paid leave, and worker protections, so families don't have to collapse just to keep the economy running. Now, education. The Public Education Strength and Stability Act doesn't ask working families to carry the burden. It closes corporate tax loopholes that drain public revenue. It redirects unused educational funds that never make it to classrooms, and it cuts federal waste so dollars go to teachers and students, not consultants and contractors. We've already promised to fund special education. We've been making that promise forever. No one ever follows through with it. And this bill makes that promise real. And finally, child protection. The Guardians and Safe Haven Act is funded by accountability, asset seizures from traffickers, penalties on buyers, cutting off federal funding to facilities that fail to protect our kids, and by redirecting welfare dollars toward prevention instead of paperwork. Here's the common thread across all of this. If you're barely getting by, I'm not coming for you. If you're working, surviving, raising kids, and trying to hold things together, you've already paid enough. The people who haven't paid are the ones who profit from broken systems. Rich CEOs who hoard wealth while wages are stagnated, corporations that extract value and leave companies hollowed out, politicians who protect donors while telling the rest of us to tighten our belts. Both sides have had decades to show who they truly care about, and the message is loud and clear. My bills flip that, not by punishing success, but by ending the protection of exploitation. This is what it looks like when people at the bottom finally become the priority, not as charity, but as justice. We don't need new miracles. We need new priorities, and I'm done pretending the people at the top will change them on their own. I'm Troy Green. I'm running to be your next U.S. Senator, and together we can bring integrity back to Washington and dignity back to Oklahoma. Thank you.